Hello crafty friends, it's Debbie with Make It With Me. I wanted to share this old card, new card style with you, and I'm going to be using today this two-tone Flora. This is a brand new one to me, first time I've used it. I absolutely love this set and the way the flowers look. I'll also be using a Meadow Moments small embossing folder. You could use a small regular size one. This one's really made for the mini stamp cut and emboss machine, but I just want to cover the front of my card with it. It's not going to cover the whole front, but that's okay. I think it's going to look really nice. And then I've pulled out some nesting circles, and I'm going to be cutting those out of a scrap of silver paper just to kind of get a outline around my circle cutout. And I think you're really going to like this card. I watched Jennifer McGuire make this recently, and I started having deja vu. And I noticed that in my book, I had the instructions written down on this and forgot all about it. So I'm just going to be starting here with a regular A2 size card base. And then I've got a sheet of 8.5 by 11 in the Seaside Spray. This is a retired color, but I just love this color. It's one of my favorite blues. And then I'll be doing some stamping on the white, the basic white, to get my flowers. So I also wanted to share with you, this is a two-step stamp. So I try to keep a little bit of acetate handy. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the larger one that I normally keep around. So I'm just kind of showing you we are going to be using the acetate for a couple of different things. So the first thing that we'll do is take this 8.5 by 11 sheet and cut it horizontally, turn it on the 11-inch side and cut it at 5.5. And this is going to give us two card bases to work with. I'm only going to do one in the video, but I do plan to make more of these cards because they're just so easy. You're going to love this. It's called a shadow box card. And then we'll turn it horizontal, and we're going to cut this one at 6 1/4. This is your 8.5 side. And we're going to cut that at 6 1/4, so we'll have a little bit of scraps left over. I don't know if I'll use those in this one yet, but I'll lay it aside just in case. So this is our card front that we're going to start with. So we're going to have this card on the 6 1/4 inch side, and then we're going to score it at 1 inch. Well, it'll be a 1/2 inch and 1 inch. I'm kind of doing this backward. I'm doing my 1 inch first, and then I'm going to back it up and do the 1/2 inch. So if you're doing it on a scoreboard and you want to do your 1/2 inch first, that's fine. Just so that you've got a 1/2 inch and a 1 inch score mark on each side. And then I'll rotate that around and do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm leaving this in real time for this part just because I didn't want to speed it up too much, because if you wanted to make this along with me, I wanted you to have plenty of time to follow along. And you're just going to be amazed how simple this card is, and it's so pretty. So we've got our score lines, and then I'm going to take that smallest circle that I pulled out of the nesting dies, and I'm going to I'm not really going to center this in the middle of the card. I want to leave a little bit at the bottom because I might want to put a greeting down there at the bottom, and so I want to leave a little bit of space there. So I'm just going to get this centered as best I can. It's not too hard to center it. It's going to take up quite a bit. So I've run that through my die machine. I've got my little circle cut out. Now you can save this piece because we could use that in a few different ways. I don't end up using it on this video, but I will show you how we can use those leftover pieces in another video because there's so many different variations of this card. So now I've taken that third, I took the middle die and the one size larger, and I decided I wanted a little decorative ring around the cutout part of my card. And Jennifer McGuire did this on her video too, and I thought it was really pretty. So I've just kind of nested those and cut out a thin circle just to give that decorative edge around the center. And then that silver piece, I can save that as well and use that for something. In fact, I think that would be really pretty run through an embossing folder. I love foil. I love embossed foil. I think it's so pretty. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this glued down and go ahead and score my to go ahead and burnish my score marks. Now you'll see I burnished this, and then I end up running it through the die cut machine with my embossing folder, which flattens it back out a little bit, but that's okay. I really just wanted to make sure that I could see those score lines well. And so this is what you'll do, and you'll see the first score mark you'll fold away from you, and then the second score mark you'll want to fold toward you. And that's what's going to create this shadow box piece that's going to sit on the front of our card base. So now I'm just going to go ahead and do my embossing before I glue down that little ring. And I'll get that placed just in the center and run that through the embossing machine, and you'll see it's going to leave, it's not going to cover the full front, but I like that look actually. I don't have an embossing folder that perfectly fits the size. It's always either a little smaller or a little bigger. I think when Jennifer McGuire did it, she used a cover plate, and I don't have any of those. So, isn't that pretty? I think it looks really pretty. I love the texture of it. So then I'll just kind of fold those down. And so that's what the front of our card is going to look like. And you guys, I just think you're really going to love this if you haven't seen it yet. And so I'm bringing out my card base here and just kind of making sure everything fits. And it looks like it is. Now you notice you can see a little bit of that fold behind it, but you won't see that because we're going to put so much decoration on there that you'll never see it. And besides, when you open the card, it pops up anyway, and so the only time it's going to really lay flat like that is going to be when it's in the envelope. So, and while I am doing this gluing, I probably should have sped this up, but I just didn't want to take out too much of the process in case you wanted to try to make this. But I am going to do a giveaway in this video, and I'll show you the stamp sets at the end of the video that I'm going to give away. And these are some that I gave away on another video, but I never heard from the person that won, so I'm just going to do them again. And that was a video I'd only had like 3 or 4 comments on, so I didn't bother doing another drawing on it. I'll just do them again on this one. So if you're interested in winning those, when you see them at the end, just leave a comment, and I'll draw on those next week. So there's my little silver ring around that opening in the front that's going to create our shadow box piece. And so now the fun. Now we get to decorate. Now we get to do our stamping. I love it. Okay, so this is a 2-step stamp. And as I said, I've already, well, I didn't say that, I don't think, but I've already placed them in my Stamparatus because I would like to make several of these, and I just have them ready to go. So I'm going to use both sides of one of the plates. You guys, I am so upset about the Stamparatus going away. I am just heartbroken. So the first ones we'll use is going to be our base layer. So these are going to be done in the lighter color. And I wasn't sure how this was going to look. I'm going to kind of mix some yellow and pink together. So I'm going to start with the Daffodil Delight for my base color. And so I already have them placed on. And I'll just pull out my my basic white sheet. And we'll put the magnets on to hold that in place. Make sure that you get it up in that corner good, because when you're doing the 2-step stamping, you want to make sure your stamps don't, your paper doesn't move. Now, as you can see, I've already got my stamps on the other side of the platform on this plate, so. But that's okay, because they're not going to move. The stamps are stuck really well, so I love this color. Isn't that pretty? And I'm going to go ahead and just clean this off. I don't have to move my stamps, but I do need to clean it off. And I noticed I got my stamp chamois a little bit wet, so I had some water running. And you'll see I got a little place at the edge of one of my flowers where the water dripped. See it down there? But that's okay, because some of that's going to be covered up anyway. I can still. So I'm just going to go ahead and get my second layer on here. And for this, I'm using the Melon Mambo, which is a really pretty deep pink color. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? I just love the look of these flowers. They just look so three-dimensional, and you can even add more to them. This is where I was going to show you that I would use the acetate. I couldn't find my larger piece. I'm sure it's on my desk somewhere, but because it's clear I can't find it. But if you want to make sure that you're getting your second layer, just grab a sheet of any kind of plastic packaging, any kind of acetate, and put that on the flower. Get your second layer in place and stamp on that, because that'll tell you if you've got it in the right place, and then you can move it if it's not, so you don't mess up your paper. That's just a quick tip. So now I'm going to move on and do my leaves, and then there was another little small grouping of flowers, and so I'm going to stamp my first layer in this Granny Apple Green, which is a lighter green, and then I'm speeding this up a little bit, and then I took my little mini ink in the Garden Green, which is a little darker, just because I wanted to kind of make that more of a two-tone. Now here I'm going to use one color, but I'm going to stamp off on a scrap because I want that lighter pink. And I'm not going to make these yellow. And then I'll flip that second plate around and then do my little centerpieces in the full ink. And I think that looks really pretty, and I think it gives it a little bit of contrast, but I'm still using the same pink color. And so I've already stamped and cut these out, so you don't have to watch me do all that die cutting. Just wanted to show you how I stamped those. So now we get to start doing the fun part, and we get to start decorating. So I'm just going to close up my inks here, and then and this one did not come with a greeting. This set is all images. It's all floral images. So I chose another stamp set that I'm going to use, this Hello, and this was from the Fragrant Flowers. It's a big bold hello, and I thought it would look really pretty on here. And I loved this tip that I got from Jennifer McGuire, because you could do so many things. You could put any kind of strip across the back of that circle, but she used a strip of acetate, and I'll show you here in a minute how that works. It kind of makes it look like your image or your greeting is floating. So I'm just going to take a moment here and go ahead, just so that I know where I want to put that greeting on the front of the card once we get our acetate in there. And I thought it would be better just to go ahead and stamp it now, and so that I can get my placement the way I want it. And I'm just pulling out a piece of white scrap. And I started to do this with a block, but that image of that hello is such a you see how it's kind of wide, and I don't know about you, but sometimes I have trouble getting those real solid images like that to stamp really good and solid the first time. This one did, and that's another stamp set that I don't think I've even used it yet. And so, but that's red rubber for you. That doesn't always happen with the photopolymers. So now I'll just go ahead and start working on my placement, kind of getting an idea where I want to put things. And I need to go ahead and just get that hello cut out to the size that I want it. And there's my piece of acetate I was looking for, but this is a scrap. So here you see I just cut a little small strip, and I'm just kind of snipping it off so it'll fit. And then I'm just going to place that kind of not directly in the center. You can put it wherever you want. You can put it at the top, the bottom, in the center. But I'm just putting a couple little small glue dots on there to hold that acetate in. And this next step you don't have to do. I just had my Scotch tape sitting there on my desk, and I'm impatient and didn't want to wait for that glue to dry good and really good. And so I'm just sticking a couple of little strips of Scotch tape on there to make sure that holds. So I am going to just go ahead and get this strip cut out. And I know some people can cut these things out with their scissors and get them really good and straight. I am not that person. I will get it crooked every time. So I'm just kind of figuring out here where I want to put that hello. And here we go. This is the fun part, just starting our flower placement. If you guys decide to make one of these cards, I really would love, I know I say it all the time, but I would love for some of you to start posting your pictures on my Facebook page. I would just love to see them. And let me know if you saw this video on Jennifer McGuire's channel, because you know she's so popular and I still watch her too. And I get so many good ideas. This is not my original idea. And this actually, she just did this video, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks ago. And that's what made me, it just popped up on my feed, on my YouTube feed. And I realized that it just, like I said, I just kind of had deja vu. Now, I really liked this piece too. And you know, you could use some foam if you really wanted to make this have even more dimension, but I didn't want to do that because if this is going to pop up when the person opens the card anyway, and just having it kind of floating on there, I think gives that illusion. And besides, I really want this to be able to, this is such a pretty kind of fancy card, fancy fold card, that is going to mail just like any other flat card, because you would not believe how flat it goes. I mean, it's just, it'll be completely flat in the envelope, but when you open it, that element just pops right up and you can set it up. And that's why I put hello on there, because I wanted whoever gets this card to be able to set it up in their craft room or set it on their desk or anything like that. And then just because I love setting cards up like that. And I think they just actually add even a little decorative element to your space. So here I decide I'm just going to go ahead and take one of those flowers and glue it directly to the card front so that it'll be kind of in the background. And I think this ended up turning out really pretty too. And get my little leaf on there. And you'll notice that as I'm gluing these elements down, I'm using very little glue. I just want to get them where I want them in case I decide to, well, I just want to get them where I want them with just a little bit of glue, and then you can go back before you fully complete the card and add a little bit here and there just to, you know, give it more stability, I guess. But honestly, this glue seems to hold really well, and I just didn't have any trouble with it. They've been laying on my desk for a couple of days now, and they're holding up just fine. And I think they'll go through the mail just fine. I started not to add this little second pink flower, but I thought, why not? It kind of balanced it out a little bit. Now here, I slowed it down a little bit because I really wanted you to be able to see this part. And so here we're going to go ahead and get this attached to the front of our card. And you guys, this is the magic. It is just so simple and easy to do this card. You could do this with anything. And it just makes the prettiest card. And I can see myself doing a whole lot of these. And there's so many different variations and ways you can do them. You can put pattern paper behind them so that the pattern paper shows through the circle. You could do, you don't even have to do a circle. You can do ovals, you can do circles, you could do, you know, any size, any shape that you wanted to in the front. Now, I do really love, I guess you could even use pattern paper on the front and then maybe have some embossing in the background, or just so many different things you could do. In fact, the other card I made, and I'll try to include some pictures of that, I did not emboss the card front, but I did emboss the cardstock that went behind my cutout piece. My main element on the front, the shadow box part. And you can't really see it in the video. I was on Zoom with my friends and they couldn't really tell that it was embossed on the camera, but when I take the photos, you'll be able to tell that. So I'll just show you the couple different variations in the photos. And so here, when you glue this piece down, you'll have to pull it just a little bit, which is another reason I'm a proponent of the liquid glue. You know I love my liquid glue because it just helps. And see, there you go. It just automatically pops up because it's got that just little bit of difference in the size that just makes it pop right up. And yet it goes completely flat in an envelope. Now I'll decorate the inside of it. I didn't want to do that because I didn't want this video to be too awfully long, but I'll definitely show you that in the photos. But isn't that pretty? And you could add more. You could do some Winkostella. You could do some jewels or spray it with a spritzer and give it some glimmer. Just so many things you could do with it. But I think it looks pretty just like it is. I probably won't add any jewels or anything because I think it's so pretty, and I love that it's just going to go flat in an envelope, regular postage, and all of that. So I just really like this. I hope that you all like it, and I hope that you'll try to make it. And there we go. That is our card for today. Now, before I go, I did want to just mention these 3 stamp sets. Now, there's one from Heartfelt Creations. This one I don't think I ever used. This one from Stampendous I probably did, but it's been gently used. And then I have used the butterflies, but I have a new set, and those are from Bo Benny. So I'm going to give those away, and I'm also going to include one of these cards that I made today. And so if you're interested in winning that, please leave a comment. Happy Easter, everyone, and happy stamping.